Hello everyone, it's TGSF, and first off, since it's the first video of 2025, Happy New Year. As you can notice, for this year I changed a lot of thing, about my OC, always thought the old one was getting old, and didn't really represent me, and I thought the new year was the best time to change it much more flexible too. The old one was basically a looped video and I could have done more, but I was too lazy as usual, and as you can see the current appearance take inspiration from my goat. But enough yapping about that. Like usual, the video I said would be my next in community tab is in fact not my next. I wanted the ranking lore character video to be my last video for 2024, but by the time I took to write it was already December 31st 2024, so I took that time to celebrate. But while I was writing the video, two others video came out, about security breach, that were kind of frustrating to see, and not even necessarily because they didn't like security breach or something, but more about the time and new context these video were released on. So to explain what I mean in depth, we'll talk about the day security breach initially released. So on December 16, 2021 security breach released, and it was really, either you liked it, or hated it more than your worst enemy. The common reason why it was hated was, 1, it was not scary. For something that came from one of the most popular horror series, it legit did not even attempt to do something scary. You know when jump scare are gonna happen, so they are pretty much just death screen, and the overall environment is too happy for an horror setting, so much you'd rather want to be in this place rather than out. Second reason, the glitches. If there was something scary about early security breach, it'd be the randomness the game would do to you because of the glitches. Anything could happen in your game, anything. Like spawning 10 Monty on you. Third reason, more on the side of invested fans of the series. The story was weird, and with how it seemed to be presented, disappointing, and even ruined the whole point of previous game, mainly FFPS, as each character who died and had a satisfactory ending, seemingly came back for no reason, ruining the point of the previous game, which was supposed to end every character and tie up loose end. The fourth reason is more optional. Some simply didn't like the gameplay, for their personal reason. And due to the fact we didn't get any game or anything for 2022, all these reasons led to a year and a half of just backlash. Most of FNAF video during that period, that weren't theories, were mainly SA video expressing their disappointment about the game, which is fair. But there is the thing, this was 2021 and 2022, we in 2025, and since then most of the past issue, are not as big of issue. One of the main reasons security breach was hated was the glitches, but most of the glitches have been fixed. You can probably still find some if you try, but like I said, you really gotta try to find them, which is the minimum for casual player. I played security breach on my PS4, which is considered the worst version of the game by the way, and the only glitch I had was getting stuck in the office, so I had to restart the game, and I did that glitch by myself, so it not something you just run into, so not security breach fault that y'all played the game on the first computer ever made. So the glitch are not as much of a problem, unless you do run into them, which is not as common as it was. For the story turnout, we just missed context on something. William isn't back, it was the Mimic. The Tangle is probably Mimic's victim, and no, Gregory is not a crying child robot. And no, it likely not a retcon. Shameless plug, watch this video I did about retcon and security breaches presumed retcon, but whatever if it a retcon or not, what is clear is our understanding of the story in 2025 is not the same as the one in 2021. Shocker. Almost like the story developed during this 3 to almost 4 year period, only in FNAF we get thing like this, I guess. Must be another retcon. Last thing is the scariness, and this was fixed with Ruin and Into the Pit. Now whatever it worked or not is your opinion, but at least unlike security breach we can see they are trying and focusing on it a little more. Same with how fun the gameplay is, they've been focusing on that aspect with Help Wanted 2 being really fun focused. Pause. By the way, if you go to your setting and turn down the brightness, it actually make the game a little more scary. It not like it peak horror of course, but it does make the game a little more tense. Even successfully jump scared me a few times since you can't see your enemy from every corner and Chica suddenly appeared behind me. Anyway, what I really wanna say with this video is that most of the more valid reason to hate on security breach in the new FNAF, ignoring purely subjective opinion, they are mostly outdated. Which is why it's tiring to see, in big January soon February 2025, videos still talking about some downfall of FNAF or Steel Wool as the evil incarnated of FNAF. No shade to any creator of these video of course, just the content itself. I think these videos are getting annoying because they bring some a negative vibe and discussion on the fandom for something everyone talked about 3 to 4 years ago and that basically outdated. So what new do these video bring to the table? Cause I'll tell y'all the formula. Most of these video All they need to say is when the game released the game was confusing, buggy, unscary, and depending on their take they will add unfun. The same thing, while completely ignoring the existence of Ruin, and if they don't ignore it, they will follow Glorious King Fiznam and call it boring, which may or not be them just following what popular haters say instead of genuine opinion. Then they will call the mimic a retcon, cause remember nothing can ever be planned because it FNAF I guess. And then they ignore Help Wanted 2 or call it unscary, which I actually do agree with, but I didn't play it on VR yet, so don't take this judgment as the gospel. Point is, a lot of these videos just feel like the same video just made by a different guy, and while for Ruin and Help Wanted 2 you can feel however you want and criticize what you want since they are more recent. I am mostly speaking for Security Breach. If you want to criticize it, in 2025, make sure your opinion is based on your own playthrough of the game, not anyone else's opinion based on their own playthrough, or their opinion while watching Markiplier's playthrough. This is the mindset I tried Security Breach with and it why I like the game. The only main complaint from me personally is in many occasions it wasn't easy to find out what you gotta do to complete a task without looking it up, but otherwise I enjoyed it. Let's get back on the topic though, this isn't my Security Breach review video. Now there's this one video I wanted to talk about, is it basically the reason I made this video. This video called The Studio That Ruined FNAF Forever. Of course I'm only criticizing the content of this video, no personal shade with the creator over the horror bear game. But to start off, why is the title so dramatic? Even without Steel Wool we got the movies and Mega Cat Studios doing their thing as well as an intrigued fanbase for the lore, and the fanverse. I guess they did not ruin FNAF Forever, trust. Now I watched the weirdest thing about this video. When I watched it for the first time I skipped what he said about Security Breaches. I thought he would just say the same thing I gave as example. I'll probably watch the section while I'm writing or editing. And I wanted to see mainly what he say about Ruin and Help Wanted 2. And guess what? The example I gave for quick reason to hate on the game, they weren't even on this video. The guy mostly praised Ruin as an improvement, and while he did say some criticism here and there of course, the opinion on Ruin was mostly positive. For the Mimic, while he did call him a retcon as expected. And even though they said the Mimic is either a smart way to retcon or just something pulled just to amend for the reception of Security Breach, which both option basically imply the same thing, please watch this vid. But despite that, in the video, even the Mimic surprisingly got a fair praise. Most people just stuck at the idea of Mimic being a bad retcon and never explore the character any more than this, just saying he a bad retcon. So I was surprised the video gave some fair criticism here, especially when based on the title the video seemed to mostly exist to prove Steel Wool ruined FNAF, and it the same thing for Help Wanted 2. I don't even remember a single negative opinion from this section. I think here was some about the weird lore, I'm not sure though, but the section was mostly praise, and these two games are the two lastest game from Steel Wool, finishing the video on mostly positive, so you'd expect the takeaway to be Steel Wool had their fumble but they seem to be improving. But nah, suddenly, the last section of the video is the dude going off on Steel Wool about how all of this clearly show they are not good enough for FNAF, as what they produced for FNAF are extremely flawed. I saw that band was like, what the hell is this backtrack? I actually think the dude praising Ruin and Help Wanted 2 fairly made the point of the video flow worse, cause the conclusion just feel like the dude backtracking and ignoring his own last two section, to blame and hate on Steel Wool full energy cause it what the video is meant to be. Another Steel Wool ruined FNAF video, and the weird turn of this video, I think it basically a result of what I am complaining in this video, it a result of holding into that one fumble Steel Wool did, with it just being the main take of how you should feel about the series going forward. Okay, future TGSF here, I did went back at the video and to be fair they complained a bit more about Help Wanted than I expected, making the final takeaway a bit more natural as there is more than just that one game to support the final take. But funnily enough the first few criticism are about Help Wanted controversy about model stealing and the game being glitchy at release, which can somewhat fall on my complaint of not letting past thing go, but fair, still doesn't change to me the end feel like a full-on backtrack, but it does flow much better than 3 alright game 1 bad game mean FNAF is ruined forever. What I want to say is we need to move past the age of just doing Security Breach is bad cause glitches and stuff. If you wanna criticize it, did with you own updated thought with what fit the game and our knowledge about the franchise currently. Just really in general I think we need more positive video on FNAF. FNAF is a big franchise with lot of characters, story, media, game, book, movie, so these video just going like Security Breach sucks and Steel Wool is clearly evil for ruining FNAF. These video just overpopulate FNAF content for conversation that are not relevant and just make everything negative at the end while there are more interesting thing we could be talking about. That just my thought though. That the end of my little rant. Comment your thought, and if you liked the video, subscribe, and with that I proudly announce next video will be a Why Garden of Banban 1 suck video. Yeah, that game from last year, I don't even remember when it came out, but buckle up for that banger.